It was a humid night, the kind where even the wind seems to carry secrets. The patrol car's radio crackled with static, and every dimmed headlight on the district's streets seemed to hide watchful eyes. When Ryan Cole stepped out of the car on that patrol, he didn't know it yet, but he was about to step into a realm where danger wore not a bandit's mask, but a uniform. How far does loyalty among police officers go? And what happens when the truth points directly to the police? In places like Precinct 13, these questions aren't just uncomfortable, they're dangerous, because when the badge becomes about protecting more than justice, being the hero of the story can mean dying as the villain, and alone. Ryan Cole was new here, fresh off a transfer, full of principles, and the pure courage of someone who still believes in right and wrong. But none of that mattered to Tom Redding, the veteran sergeant with tired eyes, and a silence that weighed more heavily than any weapon on his belt. "The first thing you need to know here," he said from inside the patrol car, "is when to keep your mouth shut." The radio then crackled louder, cutting through the darkness of the cabin, a call for backup on a forgotten street. There was no shooting, no commotion, just a vague message: body found. By the time they arrived, yellow tape had already surrounded the alley, but what lay on the ground was no ordinary corpse. The swollen face and torn uniform revealed the truth before any words were spoken. It was Officer Marcus Hayes, reported missing for nearly 4 months. Cole had never met him, but Redding did, and he froze. "Who called that on the radio?" Redding asked one of the agents present. No one answered. Ryan looked around and felt what no police academy taught him to recognize: fear. Not fear of dying, but fear of discovering something that couldn't be unsaid. In the victim's pocket, a flash drive, and, next to the body, a mark on the concrete made of dried blood, a number, 19. The number 19 on the ground seemed to scream louder than any siren on that sultry night. Ryan stared at that mark as the flash drive burned in his hand, as if he knew he held something that could turn his life upside down. Redding, nearby, stood motionless. He didn't ask anything. He didn't explain anything. He just stared at Marcus Hayes' body, with an expression somewhere between pain and panic. "We need to get this to command," Ryan said, holding the flash drive like a bomb. It took Redding too many seconds to respond. "No, not now. First, we need to know what's in there." Ryan hesitated, but Redding's tone wasn't one of suggestion. It was one of survival. Back at the station, at the end of his shift, Redding locked the monitoring room. The place was cramped. The air smelled of stale coffee and accumulated fatigue. He plugged the flash drive into the internal system, something any other officer would consider a fatal mistake, leaving digital evidence online. But the sergeant seemed to know what he was doing. The images loaded silently. They were recordings from Marcus's body camera, dates weeks before his disappearance. In the video, Marcus spoke directly into the lens, his face tired and his eyes sunken. "If you're seeing this, it's because I've gone too far, and maybe I'm already dead." Ryan felt his spine stiffen. "I've seen things. I've heard conversations in the locker room, in the supply room, in the detective's office, people with badges dealing with the kind of dirt we're trained to combat, and it's not just them. It's more up close." The video cut to secretly recorded scenes, sergeants exchanging envelopes in dark corners of the station, lieutenants rushing out of doors that should have been locked. In one of the recordings, a name was spoken: Commander Green, the current head of the unit. Marcus continued, his voice growing tense. "I was going to hand everything over. I had a meeting scheduled with the district attorney, but last night my tire was slashed. And someone followed my sister after work. I have nowhere else to run if I disappear, had you know." The video stopped. Silence. Redding turned off the monitor with a heavy sigh, resting his hands on the table. He was right. There was nowhere to run. "We have to do something," Ryan said, his stomach churning. This is too big for even you to understand, kid." Redding turned slowly, facing him. "This place, this police station, this district, it's not just thieves who carry guns." Ryan took a step back, as if the sergeant's words carried physical weight. It was clear now that Redding had known all this for a long time. Perhaps he even knew that Marcus was marked for death. The question Ryan couldn't help but ask was, why hadn't he stopped it? Before he could say anything, the internal phone rang. Redding answered, and just listened. "Yes, sir. We're on our way." He hung up and looked at Ryan with a tense expression. "They called us to the mess hall. Command wants to talk." Now. Ryan tucked the flash drive into his boot, just in case. As he walked down the station hallway, he felt the stares. Officers who normally ignored him now seemed hyper-attentive, that kind of collective silence that only happens when everyone knows something, except you. In the mess hall, Commander Green was waiting for them. Tall, elegant, and always with that smooth, measured tone in his voice. "Sergeant Redding, Officer Cole, I'm sorry about what you found tonight. Marcus was, one of us." Ryan wanted to ask, was it really? But he remained silent. "We need to be very careful about how this situation is handled." Green continued. The press is already sniffing around, but we know it could have been just an isolated incident, right? Green's gaze fell directly on Ryan, as if his soul were being heavily assessed. Redding answered for him. Nothing indicates otherwise, sir. Green nodded, satisfied. I appreciate your professionalism. You're dismissed for today, but stay alert. This kind of thing destabilizes troop morale, and a destabilized troop is a danger even to itself. As he left the room, Ryan whispered, he knows, or he suspects. Everyone knows, Ryan. It's just that no one talks about it. Outside the police station, the night was still wet. Ryan's chest felt tight, and the thought of sleep seemed a distant luxury. But what bothered him most was something he didn't want to admit, even to himself. Redding was right. That police station was rotten, and they were in the middle of the mud. The next morning, Ryan decided to do something of his own. He went to the building where Marcus Hayes' sister lived. He had a ready-made excuse. He wanted to learn more about him, help with the funeral, anything to break the ice. But deep down, he was searching for clues. The door was answered by a woman in her 30s, eyes red from crying. Officer Cole. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry for your loss. I was new to the station, but I wanted to talk to you. Marcus left some things behind that might help you understand what happened. She nodded and let him in. In the small apartment on the table, there was an old notebook, black cover, worn edges. He wrote there when he was nervous. I always thought he was just venting, but in the last few months, he'd been paranoid. Ryan opened the notebook. It was a diary, and within the scribbled pages, everything fit together. Names, times, suspicious encounters, a detailed web of corruption, extortion of merchants, bribes from drug dealers, disappearance of evidence. But most striking was the name of a certain police officer, Sergeant Tom Redding. This must be wrong, Ryan said, his voice shaking. Marcus's sister just looked at him with an old weariness. Are you sure about that? Ryan left, his head spinning. The pieces were jumbled. Nothing was as it seemed. If Redding was involved, why had he helped hide the flash drive? Why hadn't he given it directly to Green? Was he trying to redeem himself, or was he just trying to make sure nothing got out of hand? When he returned to the police station, he found Redding's locker door open, empty. He was gone, and with him, perhaps, the only chance to understand what really happened to Marcus. Ryan ran back to the monitoring room. It was the only place Redding was confident the recordings wouldn't be immediately erased. The only chance for a clue if he'd left any. The main screen was off, but next to the keyboard was a handwritten note. If you want answers, go to where it all began. It was the same handwriting as the reports Redding always filled out with almost military precision. The phrase sounded enigmatic, but Ryan knew where it pointed: the abandoned warehouse next to the old patrol car yard, where Marcus Hayes appeared in one of the flash drive recordings, hiding, recording suspicious activity. He drove without asking permission, crossing the city in silence, each red light seeming more like a choice than an obstacle. Upon arrival, the warehouse's iron gate creaked as if protesting his presence. Inside, dust and shadows shared space with filing boxes, broken chairs, and the strong smell of mildew. And there, between two cracked pillars, stood Tom Redding, sitting on the floor, with an almost empty bottle of whiskey and his gaze fixed on some point in the past. It took a while, he murmured, without looking up. Where have you been? You escaped from the police station. I left. There is a difference. Ryan approached slowly, barely breathing. Did you know Marcus was going to die? Redding lifted the bottle to his mouth, took a long swallow, and wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. No, but I knew he was digging his own grave. Were you part of this? Your name is in his notebook. I was a part of a lot, Ryan. Things that today make me wake up in the middle of the night with the taste of blood in my mouth. Redding finally looked at him. I was best friends with Marcus's dad. We trained together. I watched that kid grow up. When he joined the force, I knew he wouldn't last, because he was too clean for this sewage. Ryan felt his stomach sink. And you let him be killed? No, I tried to get him out of here. I convinced him to accept a transfer. I was going to fabricate an internal complaint to get him removed, but he wouldn't have it. He said leaving would be like letting the rats win, and that's when his fate was sealed. Redding then took an envelope from his pocket and handed it to Ryan. This is the rest. A dossier Marcus managed to put together. It's all here, names, dates, places, and there's a copy of what you saw on the flash drive, just with one extra part, the one I deleted before showing you. Ryan opened the envelope and saw the recording on an identical flash drive. Watching it, everything became clear. In the original version, at the end of the recording, Marcus is surprised by someone breaking into his house. The camera drops, but the audio continues. Voices scream, and one of them was Tom Redding's. Put the gun down, Marcus. Put the damn gun down. One shot, then silence. You killed him. Ryan felt the ground disappear beneath his feet. Redding stood up slowly. every muscle in his body creaking as if it were about to come apart. I wasn't the one who shot him, but I was there, and I didn't do anything. I was called to convince him to stop, but when I saw he was going to go all the way, I let myself go. I didn't stop him, I didn't report him, I just watched, and that's what eats away at me to this day. Who pulled the trigger? One of them. One who still walks the corridors of the police station today as if nothing had happened. Ryan wanted to break everything around him. His skin burned, his teeth ground together, but amidst the hatred came fear. And what do you want me to do with it? Finish what Marcus started, but do it right. Leak everything to the press, the prosecutor, whoever. Just don't go down to the grave with him. And you? Redding looked out the broken window, where the streetlight was pouring in without permission. I'm going to turn myself in. But first, I'm going to find someone who will want to shut me up before that. Hours later, Ryan did exactly what Redding asked. He went to the district attorney's office. He handed over everything. The notebook, the videos, the dossier. He didn't trust anyone anymore, not even the system. In the following days, the city became a whirlwind. Headlines exploded. The press surrounded the police station. Commander Green's name was exposed, along with other high-ranking officers. But Redding disappeared. No one saw the veteran again. Not at the police station, not at any of the addresses where he used to live. The prosecutor declared he had disappeared with an outstanding warrant for his arrest. But Ryan knew this wasn't an escape. It was a strategy. Deep down, he was certain Tom Redding was still out there, biding his time, maybe trying to fix things his way, or maybe just running away from himself. Ryan was now viewed differently at the police station. Some treated him like a hero, others like a traitor, but he didn't care. He kept going to work. He got in his car. He drove the streets, and every night as he sat in the squad car, he thought of Marcus, of Redding, and of number 19. To this day, no one knew what that number meant, but Ryan had a suspicion. It was the number of police officers involved, and there were still a few faces left to appear. In the days after the expose, Ryan discovered that the truth wasn't a key that opened doors. It was a sharp knife that cut ties. No one spoke to him in the locker room. Conversations stopped when he passed through the hallway. The jokes that once filled the break room were now distant whispers, as if his presence tainted the air. He still wore his badge, still patrolled the streets, but deep down, he knew he was completely alone. On the grey wall of Precinct 13, someone had scrawled with a red marker, "X9 is not a brother." There was no signature, but there wasn't any need for one. The command denied any connection to the exposed crimes. Green was removed for investigation, but no one was arrested. Not a single one. The prosecutor stated that the evidence was under review and that measures were being considered. And meanwhile, the faces involved in the recordings, some still in uniform, walked unpunished among the tables. Ryan tried to take everything to the State Internal Affairs Department, but the responses were vague. Reports disappeared from the system. Copies of the videos were incomplete. A crucial recording disappeared without explanation, as if it had never existed. Someone was cleaning up the tracks from within. It was like trying to swim with rocks in your pockets. He then began investigating alone. He arrived early. He rummaged through old files. He reviewed forgotten bulletins in drawers. Each document was a misplaced piece, a report on a seizure that never reached the warehouse, an executed warrant without a photographic record, an official vehicle identified near a crime scene, even though it hadn't been assigned to patrol that day. It was during this solitary routine that he met Sofia Arantes, a civilian investigator, temporarily assigned to investigate possible financial irregularities in the property sector. Young, direct, and seemingly ignored by most officers, Sofia seemed to know she was treading on minefields. When Ryan shared some of his knowledge, she wasn't alarmed. On the contrary, she added information he didn't yet have. "It's not just corruption," she said, lowering her voice. "It's a structure, a web. It involves weapons purchases, concealment of arrests, disappearance of evidence, money seized that was never recorded. And there are names outside the police involved. Businessmen, lawyers, bigwigs." Ryan blinked slowly. He felt as if he were digging an endless tunnel, and each inch deeper revealed bones hidden for decades. If it's true, why doesn't anyone do anything? Because everyone owes something to someone in here, and those who don't must remain silent. The code is clear. Break the silence and you become a target, just like Marcus, just like you. One rainy morning, Ryan was called to a convenience store robbery. When he arrived, the store was empty, but the back door was open. He entered with his gun drawn, his eyes alert. Down the hall, someone lit a cigarette. "Don't you get it yet?" said the voice in the shadows. The truth doesn't matter. The streets are cleaner than this police station. It was Lieutenant Costa, one of the names that appeared in Marcus's files, the same one who was in one of the recordings exchanging envelopes in the internal parking lot. You should have transferred, kid. I still can, but first I want to see some of you behind bars. Costa gave a crooked smile and stubbed out his cigarette on the wall. It's nice to see so much morale. It reminds me of Hayes. He also thought he could make a difference. Ryan stepped forward. Did you kill him? Me? No. I just left the door open. The provocation hung in the air. Ryan cocked the gun. Are you trying to threaten me? No, I'm saying you'll end up like him. That's all. That night, Ryan didn't sleep. He wrote everything down in a new dossier. Digital, with multiple encrypted copies sent to contacts outside the city. Sophia helped piece together the timeline. They began cross-referencing names and dates, making connections, and they discovered a new clue. File 13C Delta, classified as confidential, accessed only by 3 IDs, Green, Costa, and Redding. Most recent access 48 hours ago. Ryan froze. He's alive, he murmured. And if he's accessing the system, it's because he still has a plan, said Sophia. She was right. The next day, a manila envelope appeared at the research room door. No return address. Inside, a single sheet of paper, typed on an old-fashioned typewriter. Short sentences, almost like codes. Thursday, 3 a.m. Basement of the old archive. Cameras disabled, bring everything. Ryan knew it was him, it was Redding. And if he was asking him out on a date, it was because something even bigger was about to surface, or someone was using his name as bait. The police station from the outside was all concrete and frosted glass. Inside it was a labyrinth. Sealed rooms, empty hallways, doors that led to nowhere. The old archives were in the basement, behind an unmarked staircase. The place smelled of dust and mold, and the silence was almost absolute. When Ryan and Sophia arrived, Redding was already waiting for them. He was thinner, his face paler, his hair grayer, but his eyes were the same. I needed time, he said, before anyone could speak. They were following me. I hid where no one was looking, inside the system itself, and I discovered more than I expected. He placed 3 folders on the table. Inside were documents signed by outside authorities. It looked like more than corruption. It was a coordinated operation, using Precinct 13 as a front for a scheme to embezzle funds and favor gangs. We'll explain everything tomorrow, said Sophia. Redding shook his head. If it's tomorrow, there won't be anyone to arrest. They'll run before the handcuffs arrive, and they might take innocent people along the way. So what do you suggest? We lure them here, the big names, the ones behind the scenes. I have a hidden file. They know about it, and they'll come for it. Ryan looked at Redding suspiciously. What if they come armed? That's why we're going to be prepared. The next night, Precinct 13 was too quiet. Redding, Ryan, and Sophia stayed in the basement, the old archive where no one set foot anymore, preparing for what would, one way or another, be the end of the line. In the center of the room, a small TV connected to an old hard drive played the recording Redding had hidden for almost a year. It was Marcus Hayes' body camera, the one that had been marked as damaged in the official report, but the recording was there, intact. A short video, less than 2 minutes, but enough to turn everything upside down. The image was shaky, capturing the back entrance of the police station. Marcus spoke softly, almost whispering. They're meeting now, the commander and 2 others. They're getting something from the storeroom safe. He turns the camera toward a half-open door. In the corner of the video, Green, Lieutenant Costa, and a 3rd man appear. They weren't just discussing bribes. They were exchanging bags of cash for seized documents, evidence that disappeared in 3 separate investigations. As the recording ends, Marcus begins to back away, but bumps into a metal trash can. The noise attracts attention. One of the men runs to the door. The image shakes. Someone shouts, "Marcus!" The video ends. Ryan squeezed his eyes shut, as if watching it again would hurt less. Sophia was trembling. Redding stood, adjusted his holster, and spoke calmly. That's enough. The press can't ignore it, nor can the judiciary. They'll come first, Sophia said. They know this recording exists. They must be getting ready. As if confirming her words, Ryan's cell phone signal disappeared. Sophia tried the radio. Silence. Redding looked up, as if feeling the weight of concrete. They cut off communication. Are they coming now? Ryan asked, already heading toward the gun. Redding just nodded. Get ready. Minutes later, footsteps echoed in the hallway above. Strong, heavy, determined. Ryan turned off the light in the room, leaving only the computer screen illuminated. He and Redding stood behind an iron bookshelf. Sophia pulled out the hard drive and placed it inside the backpack with copies of the dossier. The basement door was violently broken down. 3 armed men descended with flashlights. One of them was Costa. "Ryan, Redding, we know you're here. Hand over what you have and no one gets hurt." Silence. "You're playing with people much bigger than you understand. This isn't justice. It's politics. It's survival. Redding rose from behind the bookshelf, aiming his gun. This here is shameful, and we've been silent for too long. The gunfire began quickly. Shards of concrete flew. Ryan covered Sophia, who crawled to a side door. A bullet grazed Redding's arm, but he remained standing. He fired accurately, aiming to keep the intruders at bay. Costa fell with a gunshot to the shoulder. The other two retreated, startled by the unexpected reaction. Sophia escaped through the service corridor, taking the hard drive with her. Ryan covered the exit, firing from the shadows. When the last intruder fled, only silence remained. Redding fell to his knees. "Are you okay?" Ryan ran to him. "I've been worse," he smiled with difficulty. "Run after her. Take it as far as it needs to go. I'll hold what's left. I'm not leaving you here." "Yes, you will. This is my penance. Go, kid. Run." Ryan hesitated, but left. He went upstairs and crossed the courtyard, where all the police cars were turned off. Outside, a car was waiting. Sophia was at the wheel. He got in. 2 hours later, the recording was broadcast live on all channels. The scandal exploded. Commander Green was arrested while attempting to flee the country. Other names surfaced. Investigations were opened. The police station was placed under federal control, but Redding couldn't be found. When Internal Affairs arrived, he was gone. The next day, a letter was left on Ryan's desk with no return address. "You saved more than the truth. You saved someone's chance to believe in it again." Today, Ryan still works as a police officer, but in a different precinct, quieter, more observant. The police station where it all started is now closed, but the marks remain and the truth that never comes for free. If you're also captivated by this story and want to follow other intense investigations like this, subscribe to the channel, because around here the truth always finds a way to come out. Police officer finds body of missing colleague and uncovers deadly secret inside his own police station. In less than 48 hours, the truth becomes a sentence.